Hi, my name is Pele Renata and welcome to my channel. For today I have something a little bit different, as I thought it is time to prepare for Halloween with some spooky cards. Originally I didn't think to record this process, but I changed my mind. Anyway, you can see that I already stamped a couple of images. The stamped images come from the Team Holtz stamp set called Monster Union. Next to it I'm stamping these pumpkins, which come from the stamp set called Pumpkinhead. Then some spiderweb from the IndigoBlu Skullduggery borders. Oh, by the way, the idea was to color these elements with alcohol markers. So I stamped everything using Memento ink. Later on you will see why that was a mistake, but never mind, I found a workaround anyway. The last stamp set that I am going to use for this project is another one from Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz collection called Sketch Manor. I will leave the links for all the stamps that I have used in the description box down below. Okay, now I had the basic layout, so it was time to do some coloring and realize the mistake that I made with my chosen ink for stamping. So I wanted background to look more grungy or something, so I decided to color with watercolors instead of alcohol markers, and this will reactivate my ink. Now, looking from the bright side, that did contribute to all this spooky Halloween vibe, but it wasn't the effect that I was originally going for. Never mind, the thing is that I had to be a little bit more careful with the coloring and it was all okay. The watercolor was anyway just the base, the first layer of color, as later on I will add some distress oxides on it as well. So I wasn't too much concerned with how it will look. Anyway, as you will see, these turned out to be real mixed media cards, as I will use a couple of different mediums for coloring, including watercolors, distress oxide inks, alcohol markers, colored pencils. But of course, don't be intimidated by my choice of mediums. You can all do it in one. I was honestly just having fun and enjoying my supplies. The same process was going for the second card, applying the first layer of watercolors. Just another tip that I could give you is when working with watercolors, don't worry about the initial look. A lot of time every project has this ugly face, but then just continue layering your colors, combining them, and it, in most cases at least, it really turns out good. Now at this point both cards had their first layer of watercolors, and it was time to add some more color using distress oxide inks. The first color that I reached for is antique linen, and I am applying it over the most of the background. To give it a bit more distressed look, I have applied some vintage photo distress oxide ink as well, mostly towards the edges. As recently more and more I enjoy combining different colors, I decided to add a bit of Speckled egg distress oxide, mostly towards the center of my paper, as I really thought it helps with this little bit spookier vibe and not so clean look. Now for the second card, I was going mostly with chipped sapphire all over the surface of the card, but little bit of rustic wilderness on the bottom grass area and black soot toward the edges of the card. Now the time has come to color my elements. As I said at the start, I used marker paper for this project, so I had really easy time coloring the elements with alcohol markers. At this point I am using Spectrum Noir 3 blend markers in brownish and orangish shades. As usual, I first mark for myself where the shadows would be, where would be the darkest areas, and then slowly build up toward the brighter highlighted areas. As I have a limited amount of Spectrum Noir markers, I decided to bring a bit of Copics as well, with this very bright and bold orange color. When bringing a new brighter shades, I always go over the dark shades as well with the same marker, as I think it helps blend in the colors. But then again, as you can see, I am going with even darker browner shades to give it a bit more dramatic look. The same technique goes for coloring the other elements. As I said, I first mark the darker areas, then slowly build towards brighter ones, and then go back and forth, adding darker shadows and brighter shadows if necessary. Anyway, I have a separate video on coloring specifically with alcohol markers, so I won't bore you with the full process. Here is how my first finished card looks. And then I will do the same thing for the second card. Now, as I said, this time I was really just enjoying my supplies, so I thought to bring in the Prismacolor Premier colored pencils and add some more shadows and highlights using colored pencils. But that's just probably me trying to be perfectionist, and this step is not necessary. But that said, I still think it helped improve the overlook of my images. Off camera, I will use Team Holtz Deckle Edge trimmer to cut my cards to size, but with that I cut off a bit of these darker edges, so I am just repeating that same process that I already did with the Distress Oxide ink, Vintage Photo and Black Soot. Now I wanted to add some splatters, but I was worried that I will ruin my cards, so I used Tiny Toadstools stamp set, which has this beautiful stamp for a natural looking splatter. For this I didn't bring in any new colors, and I used the same ink pad that I used previously for darkening the edges of my cards. Now it was time for the sentiment, and mine come from the stamp set that I already used before, Pumpkinhead. But stamping is pretty much straightforward, so I won't bore you with that. Instead, I will finish my cards by adhering them to the card bases in black and brown color. For adhering, I used Art by Marlene Sticky Multiglue. As a final touch, I took a jelly roll in white color to add some highlights to my colored images, but also to the sentiment, as I felt like it blends in with the background, particularly on this darker card. And that's about it for these cards. I hope you had as much as fun watching this video as I had creating these cards. Please like, comment and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!